Welcome to Living Beyond the Invisible, a walk with Heather. I'm Heather Perrin, and this is the space where we will pull back the curtain on life with invisible disabilities. Each week, we'll explore the realities of chronic illness, the challenges that often go unseen, and the strength it takes to keep moving forward. Whether you're living with an invisible disability yourself, supporting someone who is, or just wanting to understand more, you're in the right place. Let's take this walk together. Welcome back to Living Beyond the Invisible, a walk with Heather. I'm so glad you're here today because we're going to have a conversation that's both deeply honest and I think very needed in our community. The topic for this episode is one I know many of us have thought quietly, maybe even said out loud on a really tough day. Every single day feels like survival mode. If you're living with an invisible disability or chronic illness, you probably know that feeling all too well. It's the weight of waking up in the morning already exhausted, already calculating how much energy you'll have and how far it might get you. It's looking at the day ahead and knowing it will take everything you've got just to make it through. And sometimes it's not even about making it through successfully. It's simply about surviving the hours until you can finally rest again. That phrase, survival mode, might sound dramatic to someone who's never experienced it, but for us, it isn't drama. It's simply the truth. It's reality. It's the state we live in when our bodies and minds are battling conditions that don't take a break, conditions that demand constant attention, constant adjustment, constant resilience. When every day feels like survival mode, you're not thriving, you're not moving forward in the way the world expects you to. You're holding on, and that takes an amount of strength most people can't even begin to imagine. Part of what makes this reality so isolating is the invisibility of it. The world sees us functioning, at least on the surface. We show up for work. We care for our families. We smile at the cashier. We nod along in conversations. And from the outside, nothing looks wrong. But underneath that surface, there's an entire world of pain, exhaustion, anxiety, and calculation. We're measuring every single task against the energy we have left. We're silently battling symptoms that would stop most people in their tracks. And we're making decisions on the fly just to keep moving forward. That invisible balancing act, the constant math of energy and symptoms, is something I don't think gets talked about nearly enough. Imagine waking up each day and having to ration your strength the way someone else might ration food during a shortage or gas during a shortage. You have to decide what matters most. Do you spend that precious bit of energy on going to work so you can keep your job, knowing that means there may be nothing left for your family in the evening? Do you spend it on getting groceries, even though that means cooking dinner later might be impossible? Do you spend it on showing up to a friend's event because you don't want to lose that friendship, but knowing that you'll pay for it with days of recovery? These are not simple choices. They're daily, sometimes hourly negotiations that happen silently, invisibly, while the rest of the world assumes you're just fine. And that brings me to another layer of survival mode, the pressure of appearances. because so much of what we're going through is invisible. Many of us have become experts at masking, at putting on a smile, at nodding and saying, I'm okay, when someone asks how we are, at downplaying what's really happening inside. You know, I've talked about this a lot. But why do we do that? I mean, why? Well, as I've explained in past podcasts, it's because explaining takes way too much energy because we've been dismissed too many times before because we don't want pity or judgment or unsolicited advice because it's easier to just keep going, even when every part of us is screaming for rest. But masking comes at a cost. It creates a disconnect between what the world sees and what we're actually living. And when you spend every day pretending to be okay while surviving privately, it can feel incredibly lonely. That loneliness is something I want to linger on for a minute because I think it's one of the heaviest burdens of survival mode. People don't see the days when you're lying in bed staring at the ceiling, wishing for the strength to just be able to get up and shower. They don't see the nights when pain or anxiety keeps you awake while the rest of the world sleeps peacefully. They don't see the moments when you cancel plans for the third time, not because you don't care about your friends, but because your body simply won't cooperate. And over time, the invisibility of it can make you feel forgotten, even erased. The world keeps spinning, people keep living their lives, and you're stuck in survival mode, doing everything you can just to hold on. But here's the truth I want to say out loud for me and for you. Surviving is not failing. Surviving is strength. For surviving is resilience. Surviving means you're still here, still showing up, still fighting battles no one else can see. When every day feels like survival mode, it's easy to think you're not doing enough, that you're somehow falling behind. But the fact that you're making it through those days, sometimes one breath, one step, one small act at a time is proof of how strong you are. And yet, I don't want to sugarcoat it. Survival mode is exhausting. It wears you down physically, emotionally, mentally. Living with constant uncertainty, constant pain, constant limitation takes a toll. It can lead to burnout where even the smallest things feel impossible. It can lead to grief as you mourn the life you thought you'd have or the person you used to be. It can lead to frustration because no matter how hard you try, you can't just push through the way the world tells you to. And it can lead to despair when you start to wonder if this is all life will ever be. That's why community and compassion matter so dang much. None of us should have to live in survival mode completely alone. And yet, so many of us do. That's why conversations like this are very important to remind you that you're not invisible here, that what you're experiencing is real, that your survival is not something small, it's extraordinary. Now, I want to take a little bit of time um, to talk about how survival mode shifts the way we see time. For many people, a good day means being productive, checking things off the list, moving forward in obvious ways. But for those of us in survival mode, a good day might mean making it through without collapsing. It might mean doing one task and then resting. It might mean conserving just enough energy to enjoy a single small moment, watching a favorite show, sitting in the sun, listening to music. And that shift can be disorienting because the world is constantly telling us to aim higher, push harder, do more. But the truth is, survival mode requires a completely different measurement of success. It asks us to honor the small victories, the shower taken, the meal prepared, the appointment attended, the hour of rest. Those moments are not insignificant. They are proof of perseverance. I think it's also important to say that survival mode doesn't look the same for everyone. For some, it's the daily physical fight with symptoms like pain, fatigue, dizziness, or nausea. For others, it's the mental strain of managing depression, anxiety, or cognitive fog that makes even simple decisions overwhelming. For many, it's both. And because it looks different, people often misunderstand it. They assume you're doing better than you are because you managed to go out one day, or they minimize your struggle because you look fine on the outside. That misunderstanding can make survival mode feel even heavier because not only are you carrying the weight of your illness, you're also carrying the weight of other people's expectations and assumptions. And that brings me to another truth. Survival mode isn't just about the body, it's about the mind and spirit. Living in this state means constantly managing emotions like frustration, grief, anger, and fear. It means learning how to quiet that voice in your head that says you're not doing enough or that you're falling behind. It means finding ways to keep hope alive, even when your body keeps letting you down. And it means practicing compassion for yourself, something that I know from experience is much easier said than done. So, what helps? What makes survival mode bearable? And my friends, I don't think there's a single answer. And there is no right or wrong answer here. But there are things that can ease the weight a little bit. Community is one. Finding people who understand, who validate, who won't judge, whether that's through online groups, local support, or close friends. This can make you feel less alone. Boundaries are another. Learning to say no without guilt, to prioritize your health over people's expectations, to give yourself permission to rest. Those are acts of survival too. And then there are the small joys, the little comforts that remind you life still has sweetness in it. A cup of tea, a favorite blanket, a moment of laughter, a sunrise or sunset. These small things may not erase the struggle, but they can light the way through it. At the heart of survival mode is this paradox. It feels unbearably heavy, and yet it shows the deepest resilience. To live every day carrying the weight of invisible illness and still keep moving forward. That's not weakness. That's courage. That's strength. That's survival. And if that's where you are right now, I want you to hear me say this clearly. I see you. I believe you. I am you. And you are not alone. As we close this conversation, I want to leave you with this thought. Survival mode is not a permanent definition of who you are. It may be the reality right now, it may be the season you're in, but you are more than your survival. You are more than your illness. You are more than the invisible battles you fight every day. And while survival mode may feel endless at times, it does not erase your worth, your beauty, your importance. So if you're listening today and thinking, yes, that's me, every day feels like survival mode, know this: you are not failing, you are surviving. And that is something powerful. Hold on to that, carry it with you, and let it remind you on the hardest days that survival is enough. Thank you for joining me today on Living Beyond the Invisible, A Walk with Heather. If this episode resonated with you, remember, you're not alone on this journey. You can connect with me on Facebook and TikTok, where I share more encouragement, advocacy, and behind-the-scenes glimpses of life with invisible disabilities. And if you'd like to support the podcast and gain access to exclusive content, you can also join me on Patreon. All of those links are in the show notes. Until next time, take gentle care of yourself, and I'll see you next week.